Okay, I'm going to apologize in advance, but this one's going to be rambling, and a couple reasons for that. One, I feel like rambling, and there's nobody else here to ramble to, so you'll be it. And two, what I want to talk about takes some time, and I don't have it well prepared, I guess, in order to get it all out succinctly and efficiently. And because I have to do some working out, and this is the time that I have. So I'm gonna combine activities here. By the way, a little bit better today than yesterday. Now I've got 135 pounds, feeling pretty good. My back is doing a little better, so that is awesome. Okay, so for today, but I'm just gonna do a little like one at a time reps on that thing. So here's what I wanted to talk about. There's this tendency that we have to want to think in terms of right or wrong, or correct or incorrect, or the best or worst. And I'm not entirely sure like where that comes from, how natural it is to think like that, but at least I and kind of everybody around me culturally, I feel like, tends to think in these binary terms. You've got this side and that side, right? Well, I've been thinking about that a lot, and how now let me back up, hold on, okay. I was reading a book, an excellent book, and I believe this was in Coming of Age in the Milky Way. God, I love that book. It was talking about the history of how humans discovered our place in the universe and the scale of the universe. Because that wasn't very, it wasn't intuitive you couldn't just look up into the night sky and correctly guess what was going on. And that's hard for us today to wrap our heads around, because if you grew up knowing we're one of many planets in the solar system, and those are all stars in the night sky, and the sun is a star, blah blah blah. Well, it's hard to understand a time before that was all common knowledge, and the stories that we came up with to explain what was going on there. Well, it's tempting to say, oh, they were all really wrong, like just for easy example, all of the stars and the sun and the moon, they're all orbiting around us, because visually, from our perspective, you look up and that's exactly what they're doing. They're spinning around us. That's a very logical conclusion to come to with the information that was available. But then, looking back, it's like, oh my God, how, they're so wrong. It's just so wrong. It's not even a little bit close to what's actually going on up there. Okay, I'm getting closer to what I want to say now. They weren't wrong. Okay? And we are not right. Now, before I lose you, let me see here. Okay. For example, this dumbbell weighs 35 pounds. Okay? It says so right here, and that's what it weighs. But if I put this on a scale, you know, if I drag our body weight scale out of the house and put this on there, it'll probably say something like, oh, 35.2 or 34.5 or some amount that is not 35 pounds. Does that mean that this is not a 35-pound weight? Okay, let's say the scale said it was 35.2, okay? Does that mean that this is now a 35.2 pound weight? What if I put it on a more precise scale that then said, actually 35.237? Okay, does that mean now it's a 35.237 pound weight? What if we put it on another more precise scale? And you go farther and farther into this precision hole, you know, where each new measurement gives you a different result. That doesn't mean that the less precise measurements are just wrong. Like it's okay, I think it's time now for me to kind of get into the actual statement here. And that is, it might be better to think about it less in terms of right or wrong or incorrect or correct, and think, okay, how useful is the information? How useful is it? Because when I am in the gym and my workout plan says to grab a 35-pound weight, I grab a 35-pound weight. That is useful, you know? Simple, to the point. It wouldn't be more useful to me if it said grab a 35.2357 pound weight. That's not really more useful, even if it was more precisely technically correct, right? It is not actually more useful to me in this scenario. Excuse my random deadlifts. Okay, so sometimes it's actually more useful to be less technically correct. Isn't that funny? If you were, say, doing some measurements in your room, you had to measure, you wanted to measure the square footage of a room. You were going to rent it out or something. Well, it's going to be more useful to round to the nearest square foot or the nearest 10 square feet. It's not more useful to give a super ridiculously precise measurement, even though it might be more technically correct. Okay, so what does that have to do with the universe and looking up at the stars and all that? Well, there were a lot of theories that about why things were the way they appeared to be up in the sky. You know, like horses and chariots carrying the sun across the sky and stuff like that. Well, just because they weren't technically correct does not mean that they weren't useful. There were various theories that could provide useful information to people, say in the time of Aristotle. They were not impressively technically correct, but they were still reasonably useful. They had utility. And then when more precise measurements were made and more refined theories developed, well, then we were able to get information that we could then use to do other things. You know, more precise information might allow you to do additional things, right? A more precise measurement of my dumbbell will not necessarily help me work out better. It's kind of irrelevant. But I could do other things with that information that I couldn't do with a less precise measurement. So then we go on to even more precise and useful information. You know, we get Newton and his laws of gravity. Those that is incredibly useful information that then humanity had access to. That information was so useful, and it actually or allowed us to develop the technology and the procedures and everything that got us to the moon. You know, that can get us to land a probe on another planet. You know, it's amazingly useful in that context. Maybe less useful in this context. But it's still not correct. It's not in some cosmic, handed down from the gods kind of way correct. We don't know the precise laws of the universe. We just have more useful theories that allow us to do more and more advanced things with that information. Excuse me. Oh man, I'm just going all over the place. I'm going back and forth between different forms here. So, this is the worst workout ever, but I'm doing more talking than lifting. So, there are, we don't know shit right now. Like, we just have better theories than we did before. Theories that are more useful. We can use them to, say, predict with a greater degree of accuracy things that will happen. You know, if X happens, then Y happens. And the closer we get to some sort of perfection, well, then the more precisely we can predict. But we don't know yet, so we are not right now. You know, Aristotle was not right then, and we are not right now. We just have more precise and useful information. That's all. So, knowing that, I'm getting into, I think, the crux of it. Knowing that, I find it's just helpful to me to apply that knowledge to as many areas in my life as I can. Not thinking in terms of right or wrong, but in utility. How useful is it to me or to others in whatever context it's being applied? How useful is it? And that kind of measure of utility it's variable, depending on who is evaluating it, what the context is, when are you doing the evaluating, and what part of the subject you're evaluating, because you can divide something up into many things. Reality is complex. Very few things are simple. And it does not do any topic justice to simplify it down into this side or that side. It has to be good or bad, right or wrong. That does an injustice to the complexity that is reality. So, since I'm here in my little gym, I could apply that way of thinking to working out. What is the best workout? What's the best way to train your body? Well, there isn't one. And it doesn't matter. It's about how useful is it to you, right? I'm picking up a barbell right now. This is a very standard piece of strength training equipment. But I don't think that it is the best way to train a body. You know, it's not a good way to try and evaluate it, okay? It has value. And speaking personally, it may have more or less value depending on what I'm doing with it, at what point in my life I am trying to use it, what I'm trying to accomplish. All of these things play into the utility of this device. There are absolutely more useful things that I could be doing with my time. Like if I had every single option right here in the whole world, I'm sure there are ways. I'm sure somebody could come in and be like, can show me. You know, they could show me something that is going to do better for me. But I happen to have this in front of me right now. I happen to have a basic set of skills with this. I have some general knowledge on it, and I can do some training with it that is useful to me. So right now, I like the value of this exercise. Doesn't mean it's the best. Doesn't mean that I have to go around saying the barbell deadlift is the best exercise and you must do it. It has value. And naturally, it will have downsides. I've got some rings hanging here. They have value. You can get a lot from that. But you can make your own value judgment. And it's not just based on those, it's based on you. How useful is it to you? How interested in it are you? Do you have access to good information to help you with it? Do you live next door to a gymnast who's going to help you learn how to use them? All of these things play into its value to you. I've got kettlebells over here. I've used kettlebells for many years now. They are not perfect, they are not the best, but they have value depending on you and what you're trying to do and how you're using them and the information available to you and blah, 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 blah. They have value. Same with these giant medicine balls. I love them. They're not the best thing to work out with. They have value. So what this way of thinking frees you up to do is it liberates you. It literally frees you up. It liberates you from a simple-minded view of the universe. Because with this way of thinking, now you can go around and you don't get stuck in this binary trap. You know, that's what something like politics in America does to you. It just kind of herds you into farther and farther camps, and it's posed as a good versus bad choice. I'm not going to get into politics, so let's shift it away from that. But all sorts of areas in life, you get herded into camps, and while that has some utility to it, especially to the people doing the herding, I think it's worth evaluating things on a scale, on a spectrum. And that spectrum is personal to you, and it is specific. It's specific, to time and context and all of that. So, I'm hoping that gives you just a way of looking at things that is more useful and that will open you up, that will expand things for you. Because reality and the universe and life and people are complex. They are not binary. They are not simple. They are not this or that. They are not good or bad. They are complex. And I think it helps to look at them knowing that and having some tools in your toolbox to be able to appreciate that complexity, to be able to say, hey, this might not be perfect, but I'm going to look at it with open eyes, and I'm going to not quickly judge it good or bad. And I'm going to see in what ways is that useful to me or to others. And I think that's a useful way of looking at things. All right, that's it. That's it. Can you believe I just said that's it? I don't know how long that was, but that was a long time. Thank you for putting up with that, because apparently I needed to get that off my chest. Okay, have a good one. I don't know, is it Christmas yet? I have a few of these recorded in advance, and then I've got them kind of scheduled to go live, so it might be like Christmas Eve when you watch this. Anyway, Merry Christmas.